Hey everyone, welcome to the channel. It's your boy D Black coming back with another SmackDown review. Alright, this SmackDown. It was just a thrown together show. I mean, has nothing to do with anything that's been going on. I mean, there's no storylines with none of these matches, and I see that they're trying to set up a few storylines that are happening, but boy, there's one thing in here that's really irking my nerves, and that's Sami Zayn. Why is Sami Zayn still asking for another title shot? I mean, he's had two title shots. Well, actually, he had a title shot. He won. He beat Carmelo Hayes. Then he loses the title to Trick Williams. Then he has another match with Trick Williams at WrestleMania, and he loses that match at WrestleMania. So now he wants to fight Trick Williams again for for the title again. For the U.S. title. Okay, and so Nick Aldis kind of put that into put that to sleep because he told him like he had his chances, and that if he wanted to have a match again, he'd have to start from the beginning. He has to start and earn his way up and stuff. And then Sammy complaining and stuff, talking about the things that he did and all through his life, all through his career and stuff like that. And Nick is saying like, yeah, he knows that and he understands that. But then he told Sammy that he seems like he's entitled. But anyway, let's start off and let's get this going. All right. We start with Trick Williams. He comes out, since they're in South Carolina and everything in his hometown and everything. So he gives a shout out to them, the Gamecocks and stuff like that. And everything that he's talking about, this chicken place that he's gone to and some sauce, drip down his chin and everything. He's talking about that he's a big guy and everything and stuff, and the sauce dropped all the way down to his lemon pepper steppers and stuff, and everything. But then, he started going off, giving props to, his family and everybody. And then he tells his mom, to take a look, at the star she created and stuff. And as he said that, the Miz and Kit Williams come out, you know. The Miz, I mean, the Miz comes out and he starts talking about Trick Williams and coming out with the gingerbread man and stuff like that. Now you have a gamecock with him and stuff like that. And he says kind of like, you know, um, looking like rejected mascots, from his daughter's birthday party and stuff. So, I mean, because the Miz is coming out looking pretty crazy. And then the Miz is saying that, is this WWE or is it Sesame Street? And he's asking, is Big Bird, is Big Bird going to come out and stuff, So, I mean, they're talking. Really doesn't make any crazy. And then Kit Wilson gets up and says that he has a poem and stuff for them. And he reads the poem. And then Lil Yachty says, well, hey, I got one for you too. And he does his and everything. And it's kind of like, it was okay. There was some funny spots. And I just can't remember everything that they said as far as these things are. I mean, this segment, is okay. But why? And then we get the match with Miz and Trick Williams. You know, um, at one point, the Miz, hits Trick Williams with the skull crushing finale, and then Trick Williams kicks out. And then as the match goes on, the Miz goes out and tries to get a kendo stick, and then Lil Yachty grabs the kendo stick, and then Kurt Wilson comes, and then Lil Yachty beats him with the kendo stick and everything. And then Miz is kind of watching, and he turns around, and Trick Williams hits him with the trick shot and wins the match. Then we got Kathy Kelly talking to Camelo Hayes. Camelo Hayes is saying that, he's coming after, the U.S. title and everything. Kathy, talks to him about the match that he's going to have with Ricky Saints and stuff. And then as Camelo Hayes is saying, about his status as far as trying to get that U.S. title back. He said because Trick Williams is embarrassing the title and stuff, and then Ricky Saints comes out and they start talking, squabbling and everything and stuff, and Ricky Saints tells Camelo Hayes he'll see him in the ring. Then he walks off. Then we get Nick Aldis with Ray Phoenix, and they're talking. Then all of a sudden, Sami Zayn comes up and stuff, and he's talking to Nick Aldis. Like I started at the beginning, about wanting another title match and stuff. And Nick's telling him that he seemed like he's entitled and stuff. That he need to earn the position, earn the a shot at the title and everything. And I still don't understand why Sami Zayn is here asking for another title shot. I mean, throughout the whole thing, he did it with the world champion, undisputed championship with, Cody Rhodes and stuff, talking about he wants this title shot, that title shot, he don't get, and then he goes nuts and stuff like that. I'm just so sick of Sami Zayn, and if you're sick of Sami Zayn, also please put it in the comments, let me know, because I'm done. It's over, as far as he's concerned. And then we got Kathy Kelly talking to Bree, Bella, and Paige, and they're talking about their titles and stuff like that, and how everybody's coming after them because they are champions and stuff like that. And then Lash and Nia come out, and Nia's telling them that at Saturday Night Main Event, they're going to take the titles that they never lost because they said that Bree and Paige are the reason why they lost their titles in that fatal four way that they had and stuff. So we'll see what happens with that. Then we get the match with Paige and Brie Bella, versus Giulia and Kiana James. The match was okay, went on, back and forth and stuff like that. There was a couple of things where Kiana, Brie did have something to do with Kiana slamming into Giulia and stuff, and then Paige hits Kiana James with the Rampage DDT for the win. Then we get Kat Kelly. She was pretty busy tonight backstage. She was pretty busy backstage doing the interviews and stuff. But then she's talking with Tiffany Stratton. She's asking Tiffany Stratton, about um, her deal and stuff like that, and talking about tag teams and stuff like that. Because before Chelsea was talking about her and Tiffany could be a good tag team, and win tag team titles and stuff like that. But in the background, as they're talking, Kathy and Tiffany are talking, you can see Giulia and Kiana James in the background arguing. You know, um, so and she said that's the reason why you know she doesn't want to be a team by seeing them arguing, but she said it would be easy, because they're not on the same page with each other and stuff. And then Chelsea Green comes out, and she's still making her bid as far as them two being, you know, um, a tag team, Chelsea and Tiffany and stuff. And then Tiffany tells her, there's no way that they can be a tag team together. So as they're doing this and going on, I think somewhere down the line, Tiffany and Chelsea will probably be a tag team together. Why I don't understand, but we'll see how that goes. Then we get Cody Rhodes. He's supposed to have the contract, to make Gunther, sign the contract, for the title shot at Clash in Italy. So Cody comes out, he starts putting the ring together, he throws a couple of chairs in the ring, he throws table in the ring, and he sets up everything and stuff like that, you know, um, for the contract signing. He says that, he's got everything together and he wants Gunther to come out, to sign the contract for SmackDown and Clash in Italy. So Gunther comes out, and then Gunther's starting to talk that crazy talk, talking about, if he wants him to sign the contract, that he has to be nice to him, and he has to say pretty please, and stuff like that, and everything. You know, okay, I'm not gonna get mad at this because Gunther is not good on the mic. All the things that he's done, and now this favor that Paul Heyman got him and stuff, to sign, a contract to face Cody Rhodes and stuff. But anyway, Roy Keys comes out and he tells Gunther, "Hey, if you're not going to sign the contracts, he'll go out and sign the contract." So Roy Keys started going to the ring, to sign the contract, and then as he's getting ready to sign it, Gunther gets into the ring and they start, tussling around and everything, pushing each other and stuff like that. Then Nick Aldis comes out and tells him like, "Hey, look, he told Gunther that, hey, you gave up your chance, and now it's too late. You had your shot when Paul Heyman got you the favor to, fight for the title and stuff like that, but now you want to play around as far as that, sign the contract and everything." So he said that, if Royce Keys was to sign it, but then again, he put a match together between Royce Keys and Gunther, to have a match, for number one contender to face Cody at Clash in Italy. And then we get another backstage. You got Sol Sokoa backstage talking to Toma Tunga, asking him does he understand, the assignment, and he asks him again twice, does he understand the assignment, and about taking out Damian Priest because he told them that they had to put the tag team matches on hold and stuff because our truth is injured and he hasn't been released, to wrestle. And then after that talk, Shinsuke Nakamura comes out and they starts talking to Tama Tonga and, telling him, see and stuff like that. And then Tala Tonga comes and he attacks Shinsuke Nakamura and he beats the crap out of him. I mean, he destroys him, you know. And then after that, Gunther is talking to Nick Aldis, they're arguing about, you know, um, his shot at at Cody for the title, and Nick is telling him that he gave up that chance when he was playing around, you know, um, about signing it. He blew it and stuff. So that's why they have the match, with him, Royce Keys, and Gunther later on. And then we get the match with Carmelo Hayes and Ricky Saints. This match is actually it was a pretty good match. Carmelo Hayes does his thing. Ricky Saint does his thing. I mean, there was a few times and spots that looked like they were missing. I mean, it was blatant like they were missing. I don't know if they were doing on purpose or not. You know, and then there was another spot in the ring later on. I mean, in the match later on. Where Ricky Saints actually missed the whole rope and stuff to do a spot and stuff. And then at the end of the match, Ricky Saints tries to win the match with his feet on top of the rope. The referee catches him and stuff like that. And then Carmelo Hayes gets him, turns him around, puts him down, puts his feet up on the ring. I mean on the ropes and everything. And the referee counts 1, 2, 3. Then see his feet on the ropes, and Carmelo Hayes wins that way. And then we got backstage R-Truth talking with Royce Keys, tell him that it's not late. He can sign, to join him and Damian Priest with the new Judgment Day. Royce Keys is not interested in none of that. And then Damian Priest, comes and he asks, R-Truth what he was doing. And he's saying that he was trying to get Royce Keys to sign with them as far as the new Judgment Day. And then he was telling R-Truth, remember, in the match, because he has a match with Tama Tonga, not to come out, because last week when he came out, he got hurt. That's why he can't come out to the ring, because he got hurt when he was told not to come out to the ring and stuff. So he promised that he wouldn't come out to the ring and stuff like that. And then after that little segment was over, then we get Danhausen. Seems like he's brewing up something. He's saying that he's, getting ready to cook up something big. So I guess whoever's on that gurney, that was a pretty big spot, person on that gurney. So we'll see what happens down the road, how that goes. And then we get the match with Damian Priest, versus Tama Tunga and stuff, and the match was pretty good and everything. And at one point, Solo Sokoa, well, that was at the end of the match. Okay, so the match goes on. It's pretty good. It's pretty decent and stuff. I had to say, Damian Priest didn't look like he usually looks, getting beat up and destroyed, in a match. Then he hits Tama Tunga, with the South of Heaven, and wins the match. Then Solo Sikoa and Tala Tunga come out and they attack Damian Priest and stuff and kind of like beat him down. And then we got this crazy, crazy, crazy segment in the back, and it's Sami Zayn talking to Johnny Gargano, as he's laying on a crate and stuff, and that's just it's just something dumb, something stupid, and Sammy's just talking to him and talking to him, you know, and it just makes zero sense. It has nothing. It's just crazy. I don't understand it. I don't know why they put it in like this and stuff like that. Johnny Gargano's been doing this laying around thing for quite a while and stuff. So if they think that this is entertaining, it's not entertaining at all. It's not. Then you got Jay Cargill, B-Fab and Michin and stuff, and Jade is saying, talking crap, about um, people when they see her, or actually people talking all that crap, about her. But when she comes around, nobody wants to say anything. Everybody gets quiet and stuff like that. And then she talks about Rhea Ripley and everything like that. That she's gonna, get Rhea and then get her title back from Rhea and stuff like that. And then Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss, they come out and stuff, and then they're talking all this nonsense and everything about, you know, um, Jade and stuff like that. So I think sooner or later it's going to be Charlotte Flair and Jade Cargill that's going to be going at each other and stuff, because a while back when Jade was actually coming in, her and Charlotte had this little standoff and everything. So we'll see. But it sets up, a six, women tag match, I think for Saturday night main event, with Charlotte Flair, Alexa Bliss, and Rhea Ripley going against Jade Cargill, B-Fab, and Michin. So we get the tag team match that they have for tonight. It's B-Fab and Michin versus Charlotte Flair, and Alexa Bliss. And the match goes on. I mean, it's actually a pretty decent match. I mean, you got four old schoolers in there, and for the most part, it was pretty good. It wasn't really that bad and stuff, And then all of a sudden, Jay Cargill, she gets involved and causes a DQ for her team. And Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss, they win the match. And then we got backstage with Kathy Kelly with Fatal Influence, and Fatal Influence is out putting warnings and giving, telling everybody and putting everybody on blast about the fact that they're there and they're looking for all the titles. Looking for all the titles. We're talking about tag team titles and a world championship, or maybe U.S. title and stuff. And then you get Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss, talking, and Alexa saying, well, they're both saying, where was Charlotte? I mean, where was Rhea and everything, that they needed her and everything. And Alexa's talking about, yeah, they were outnumbered and stuff like that. And then Charlotte is like, Rhea kind of feel like that Rhea let them down because she wasn't there and stuff. Um, so Alexa's, saying that she wants them, and so now they have a chance to make everything up with Rhea when they have that match, at Saturday Night Main Event. Then you got Sosa Cole talking to Royce Keys, telling Royce Keys that, he can get him, a championship. He can get him the title and stuff like that. And then he ends up threatening Royce Keys and telling him, don't let what happened to Shinsuke Nakamura happen to him. Oh man, and Royce Keys said that he got it, he can take care of himself and stuff. And then they go out and they have the match. Gunther and Royce Keys. And it was a pretty good match, actually, to tell you the truth. I mean, two big guys, you had to know it was going to be a power thing and stuff like that. I mean, they were going back and forth. The chops were ridiculous, and there was some stuff, I mean, it was a pretty good match for two, big guys. And it was a long match, too, and then eventually, Soul Sokoa, he gets involved. He tries to throw a chair in for Royce Keys to use it on Gunther and stuff. And then Royce Keys, he doesn't use the chair. He just throws the chair in the Soul Sokoa's face and then knocks him out the ring. And then Gunther grabs Royce, Royce Keys and then power bombs him, and for the win. And so that match is over. Gunther still gets a shot, at Cody Rhodes, as far as, the championship for the undisputed title and everything. So SmackDown tonight, out of a 10, I'm going to give it a 2. I mean, it was really bad. I mean, nothing was exciting on the show, really, to tell you the truth. And then Gunther to be in the way that he is and stuff, and how they had that, him making Cody say pretty please for him to sign the title. Yeah, I think that's pretty dumb. But anyway, please don't forget to subscribe, like, share, leave a comment, let me know how you're feeling and stuff. Thank you for watching. God bless. Deuces. And I'll see you on the next video. Thank you.